Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're plunging into a concept that's, well, both ancient and honestly astonishingly relevant right now. What if the very first, the most crucial step to becoming your truest self involved a kind of radical act, like a spiritual demolition? What if it meant deliberately burning away everything you thought you were? All those masks, the misconceptions.
It's a powerful idea, and that's really the core of this ancient alchemical stage, calcination.
Exactly. And it's so much more than just like some old chemical process in a lab, right?
Mhm.
It's this profound psychological journey, a spiritual one too,
Mhm.
a kind of foundational rite of passage that echoes through time.
Absolutely.
So our mission in this deep dive is to really explore how this idea, this purification by fire, shows up across different traditions. We're talking classical alchemy, sure, but also the hidden rituals of Freemasonry and even modern depth psychology.
Right. We're drawing from our source, Alchemy Chapter 2, calcination.pdf, to get under the skin of this process.
And for my read, calcination, it isn't just a stage, it feels like the necessary destruction. The ego, the false self.
It's
It's like the ultimate spiritual detox. And it's presented as the initial task, maybe the hardest one. Demanding humility, annihilating vanity.
definitely the hardest for many. It sounds tough, I know.
Yeah, a tough pill to swallow. But if it leads to authenticity, maybe it's worth looking at.
Oh, absolutely. And what's really compelling is how it connects straight to the heart of the alchemical Magnum Opus.
The great work.
The great work itself, yeah. That whole quest for transformation, turning base metal into gold, symbolically speaking, calcination is highlighted everywhere as the symbolic start, the necessary beginning.
A purifying fire.
Exactly, a purifying fire designed to burn away impurities, pride, illusion, making way for real fundamental transformation, not just polishing the surface.
Right, not just polishing. It's like smelting, you said.
Mm.
Okay, let's really get into the alchemical meaning then. Literally, in classical alchemy, what are we talking about?
Yeah.
Intense heat, right?
Intense, often prolonged heat. You take a substance, put it in a crucible, and heat it until it breaks down to its most basic mineral components.
So reducing it to ash, basically.
Pretty much. Burning away moisture, impurities, anything extraneous. It's about getting down to the primal essence, a complete stripping down.
And this fire, this heat, it's not just literal, is it? The source really pushes this idea of a spiritual fire.
Never just literal in this context. It's an inner heat. Maybe the heat of will, or a crisis, or even divine judgment, as some traditions see it. Carl Jung talked about this back in '67. He saw it not as external pressure, but an internal crucible, an intensely personal ordeal.
That's where the real work starts, huh? Inside.
Exactly, where you confront what's really underneath it all.
And the symbolic links are fascinating too. Saturn, ruler of limitation, mortality.
Yeah, the source connects it to Saturn. And it's a potent reminder, isn't it, that growth often starts not with just expanding, but by facing our limits, our mortality, confronting the shadow, as Jung would say, the parts we'd rather ignore.
So the fire forces us to burn away those comfortable illusions, like thinking we're invincible or something. It forces us to meet our shadow.
Sets the stage for a real reckoning.
Which brings us to the purpose, I guess. Why start with something so harsh?
Well, the source is clear. It's designed as a crucible of suffering and challenge. Its purpose is to destroy false attachments, illusions about ourselves, about the world. Abraham noted this back in '98. Only after this purification, this burning away, can the great work truly begin.
Otherwise, you're building on sand.
Precisely.
So psychologically for us, how does this land? This is where it gets really relevant, I think. The ego, pride, arrogance, self-deceit, that's the dross that needs burning.
Exactly. These aren't just minor flaws, they're blockages. They keep us from our genuine potential. The alchemist, or anyone on this path, can't start the real work until the personality is humbled, stripped down.
Reduced to its essential nature. The source says, only the ash of the ego becomes fertile soil for the inner gold. It's such a paradox, isn't it? Destruction being fertile.
The ultimate paradox. Think of a forest after a fire. The old stuff is cleared, making space for new life. The ash of the ego, free from self-importance, becomes this neutral ground where the genuine self can actually emerge. It's a humbling that prepares you.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
Okay, let's shift focus a bit. How does this play out in, say, Freemasonry? The Entered Apprentice degree, the first step. You're saying it mirrors calcination.
It's a compelling parallel, almost perfectly ritualized. It's the gateway where Masons confront the raw materials of their own being.
And the ritual itself.
Huh.
The candidate comes from darkness to light, but first, they're stripped of metals.
Meticulously stripped. Metals represent worldly possessions, their symbolic power. Then they're hoodwinked, put in a state of vulnerability. This symbolic stripping away is meant to represent burning off worldly pride, material identity. It's a visceral enactment of detachment.
Wow. And Albert Pike, in Morals and Dogma, he actually used the phrase purification of the soul by fire for the first degree.
He did, explicitly. Back in 1871, he emphasized that the candidate must be tested, humbled. It hammers home the point. Moral purification, this alchemical burning, has to come before intellectual illumination. You have to become worthy to receive light.
Not just smart enough to understand it.
Exactly.
And the hoodwink, the blindfold, what's the symbolism there?
It's telling. It's not just ignorance of the world, but ignorance of the self, your own nature, your limits. The candidate is guided. They can't direct their own path. It represents the ego recognizing its insufficiency. Surrendering pride opens you up to greater truths.
A willingness to be led, to see differently.
A symbolic surrender, yeah.
Okay, and the working tools, the 24-inch gauge and the gavel.
Especially the common gavel. It's described as being used to break off the superfluous parts of the rough ashlar.
The rough stone, the unworked self.
Right. It's a metaphor for striking away the base elements of the self-habits, beliefs that hinder growth. This striking, this shaping, it's like a symbolic combustion. The ego gets reduced through labor, submission, spiritual will. Think of the force needed to chip stone. Apply that to yourself.
That's intense. And connecting this back to psychology, Jung saw calcination as dissolving the inflated ego.
Directly. He called it conscious suffering. It actively breaks down the false self-image, forces you to confront the shadow. It's not passive observation. It's an active, often painful dismantling, like the alchemist deliberately applying heat. You engage with the discomfort.
And this fire of inner truth Jung talks about, often triggered by real-life stuff.
Yeah.
Failure, loss, crisis.
Very often. Those are the circumstances that act like a furnace, burning away pretense, stripping us down. And this is where it gets really poignant. The source connects it to the dark night of the soul, like St. John of the Cross described.
That feeling of abandonment, disorientation.
Yes, consumed by this inner desolation. But, as von Franz pointed out, the suffering isn't punishment, it's purgative. It clears the path for the higher self to awaken, like ashes making way for new growth.
Amazing how universal this feels across traditions. Rosicrucian texts, too. Burning palaces.
Yeah, like in the Chemical Wedding of Christian Rosenkreuz. Powerful imagery, burning palaces, bodies dissolving. In those allegories, fire always signifies judgment, but a necessary, cleansing judgment, purification. The adept, like the alchemist or mason, has to endure this symbolic destruction before achieving mystical union or higher knowledge. It's fundamental. No fire, no transformation.
Let's dig into that Masonic metaphor of the ashlars a bit more, the rough and the perfect. The rough ashlar is the unrefined stone, crude, unshaped, the raw self, basically.
Exactly, full of potential but unformed. And the work is transforming it, not by adding, but by removing, painstakingly chipping away the superfluous.
And that's the core of calcination again, isn't it?
Yeah.
Destroying the false so the true can emerge. You're not adding virtues, you're being reduced to your essence, what's authentic, foundational.
Right. Each blow of the gavel symbolizes suffering, introspection, discipline needed to chip away imperfections. It's deconstruction leading to revelation.
And the Masonic obligation, the vows taken, that's like an alchemical flame.
It's described that way. A sacred burden on the soul. A commitment to moral law, integrity, honor. Once you take it, the ego has to submit to a higher authority. It's this internal, purifying flame demanding adherence. A burning commitment.
A burning commitment. And it really seems fire is presented as the first element of transformation in so many traditions.
It really is, not just a symbol, but this universal force, the divine spark, the logos, the holy fire initiating all change. Fire as the great separator, distinguishing the essential from the dross.
And how this echoes elsewhere is fascinating. Kabbalah, you mentioned Gevurah, severity or judgment.
Yes, Gevurah. It represents necessary boundaries, the destructive aspect that imposes discipline, holds back unchecked expansion, like a controlled fire that purifies through intensity. Not arbitrary punishment, but the force needed to refine, remove impurities. It mirrors calcination's role in spiritual discipline.
The strength of restriction creating strength. Paradoxical again.
It is. And Freemasonry also begins with the spiritual fire. The flame on the altar, the blazing star, the light after the hoodwink. It all echoes that moment. Divine fire enters the soul. Not for comfort, but for truth. A truth that burns away self-deceptions.
So why is this process so non-negotiable? Why start here?
The source emphasizes it's not optional in the great work, it is the beginning, the crucible testing resolve. It's probably why not everyone who starts sticks with it. This fire demands sacrifice, letting go of who you thought you were before you can become who you truly are. It's a challenging gate.
And this intensity, it often leads into the nigredo, right? The blackening stage.
Often, yes. Despair, decay, darkness. But it's also sacred, the womb of transformation. Masons might experience this metaphorically, confronting their inner void.
And sometimes literally,
Yeah.
chambers of reflection.
Some lodges use them, yes. Stark rooms for contemplating mortality, decay, spiritual poverty, often in isolation. They have symbols like the skull, the hourglass, and that Latin phrase vitriol.
Visit the interiora terri rectificando in venis occultum lapidem.
Exactly. Visit the interior of the earth, and by rectifying you shall find the hidden stone.
Wow. That's a direct instruction for introspection.
It's a profound enactment of calcination. It forces the Mason to look deep inside, confront mortality, burn away illusion, and find that hidden gold, the philosopher's stone, within themselves. It's saying, go to the bedrock of your being, strip everything else away.
So boiling it all down, this process, calcination, it's harsh, maybe unforgiving, but holy. It strips away the masks, demands you show up naked, spiritually speaking, before the divine, before yourself.
In the lodge, it's ritual. In life, it's lived through suffering, failure, deep introspection.
The alchemist embraces the fire, knowing only through burning is gold revealed. The Mason welcomes the gavel, the flame, the trial, with reverence.
Because in the destruction of the ego, the beginning of truth lies.
And that light they seek isn't just knowledge, is it? It's illumination after purification.
Exactly. Seen only after the dross is burned away, when the soul's eyes are clear. This deep dive really shows that raw, demanding first step.
Indeed. And as we look towards the next stage, dissolution, we'll see how these ashes become fertile ground. The work continues, but for now, considering the rough ashlar of your own being, what superfluous parts are you willing to let the fire, or maybe the gavel of self-discipline, strike away? To reveal what's truly underneath, what illusions are you ready to burn?